tragically, when someone robs an ancient site, or like their museum, as an example, their museum was robbed, there were things taken. The Department of Antiquities doesn't find them until they come up for auction or for sale. And I think that's tragic. I think that they should be able to have some sort of method to be able to track that. I don't know if Interpol works with them or how that happens, but I think it's terrible that these things get stolen. This is the history of the world, not just Egyptian history, which, people are fascinated by that anyway, but that's because that's where everyone's origins ostensibly started. Granted, now you have pyramids that are the same age in different parts of the world, so that theory is kind of getting tossed to the side. And as Dr. Taylor said, ancient alien theory isn't really a theory, it's an hypothesis. He's right. Told you. Smart guy. But anyway, I just find all of this to be a fascinating experience. And Daniel says, if he recalls, there's still buried cities in Egypt. There's still buried everythings in Egypt. The history there is just overwhelming. There's cities. There's still pyramids that are completely under the sand. There's everything they're finding now. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. We're going to go on Better to Get Forgiveness Than Permission because it was said in a conference, so I'm going to say it now. But they have found a papyrus that was from the time that the pyramids were built, that was by a foreman who described the time frame of the building of it. And it described, carving out canals to bring the Nile closer to be able to get more stone close in. And the previous theory had been that this was done in 20-something years, that it took 20-something years to build the pyramid. According to this papyrus, it took 47 years. I didn't think it sounded like that big a deal, right? It is. Because you know what? He was upset. Remy was upset. Because he said, you know what? We have been so wrong. We have been off by so much. Just on this. What else are we wrong about? What else have we missed? What else is just going to completely blow us away? We think we know so much, and we don't. We just don't. We got it wrong. That's a man that cares about his work, and that's a man who's going to find a way to not have that happen again. Because what if the earth is twice as old as you think it is? What if our civilization is 75 times older than you think it is? We're not the first civilization. There's been a lot of them. They find documentation of that all the time. Something to ponder as we go to this break.
You are listening to WPHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.
Welcome back to Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I'm Kat Hobson, your host, and this is AlienCon 2018 in review. We are coming up toward the last section here, and we've got about maybe 40 minutes to be able to get this information to you. But I have to tell you that we were talking about Remy being so upset about the time frame being wrong on building the pyramids, or the Great Pyramid. Again, when I first heard that, I didn't understand why he was so upset. When you work in science and you think that you have an answer to a question, only to find out through ancient documentation that your ideas are incorrect, that's got to strike a nerve. I was absolutely convinced that it was just a slight error. I even brought up, did they use the Gregorian calendar then? Were the times accurate? Would that be a real issue? And he said that the calendars as we know them today were what they used back in those periods. So there's that. So there really wasn't any way around the fact that sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. And when you find out that you've been wrong for centuries now, millennia, then that's a whole different thing. It's just really kind of sad that we could be so wrong, or maddening, depending on if you're the person that's wrong. So I'm interested now to see if we were wrong about how we dated these pyramids. What about these ancient sites? Tibet, Malaysia, Palestine, Pakistan, Afghanistan, the United States. We have ancient sites too. We also have monolithic structures that don't get talked about very much, but they're out there. That's a whole nother show. I'm just waiting on the go-ahead. But, it's really an amazing thing to think that our whole mindset has been wrong. And how are we going to change it? How are we going to ascertain that instead of something being a 20-year time difference, it's going to be a 250,000-year time difference, right? Possible? Why not? You think we know everything? We just got proved we don't. I found that fascinating. And I'm not poking at Remy because I do know how professional he is, and I do know that this took everyone by surprise. This is not dissing that science. That's not dissing that field of study whatsoever. I have complete respect for the people that go out there and do this day in, day out. It's hard. Fun, but hard. But, now you have the places in Peru, right? Is carbon dating really a thing? Or are we wrong about that too? I think that I can understand better the reaction because it kind of calls everything, right? Everything into question. So I learned that, and I'm interested to see where we go with that because big deal, apparently. Really big deal. I was really fortunate. I have one of my friends, when I posted that I was doing this show tonight, said, "You have been having quite the summer." I have. I work very hard to do a good program and to bring good information. I try to be a good researcher. I try very hard not to go off half-cocked with theories and such. I try to find the best answers to the hardest questions, and I go to the best people for those answers that I can find and access. Sometimes it's easier than others. I'm glad to say that through the experiences and the events I've been to this summer, I was able to have a conversation with Giorgio Tsoukalos, who is truly an explorer. I have been pretty surprised by how accessible he and Eric Von Daniken and, like I said, Whitley Strieber, so many people that I did not expect to be able to have a conversation with, are just thrilled to and fascinating. I learned that the reason that Giorgio is in the position Giorgio is in is because he is truly a modern day Indiana Jones. No lie. He wants to go everywhere. He wants to learn everything. He wants to see everything. He wants to talk to everyone who can educate him about it. He is really and truly that guy. And he is one of the people who has signed up to go to Mars. And when they told him that they didn't know that they would be able to bring him back, he was like, why would I come back? We can be self-sustaining when we get there. We just take the equipment for that. An adventurer, an explorer, inquisitive and smart, healthy fear, but not overwhelmed by fear, right? You got to have some somewhere. I know he does. It's somewhere maybe in his little toe. But I liked his attitude towards his work. He is dedicated. He is actually an executive producer of the program Ancient Aliens, which means that he has input into what they're doing and how they package it and what's going to happen. He is from Switzerland, as is Eric Von Daniken, and their relationship it was just special. It was neat to see. It was neat to watch them interact. When we were at Contact in the Desert, I didn't really get to see Giorgio much, except for after the conference, that after the programs for the day were complete, around the fire pits and stuff. But I enjoyed speaking with him. He's really just kind of who he is. It's a good thing. And getting to hear Eric spoke on two entirely different planes. One at Contact in the Desert, where he described all of the experiences that he had had in his excursions, going down into the bottoms of the pyramids where there's clear blue pools and such. Mesmerizing. He shared photographs that he didn't mind you taking pictures of so that you could review them. And I thought that was very generous. Very generous. So I'm always impressed when people don't mind sharing their information in such a way, and they expect you to be professional with it too. But when I was listening to Remy speak, and then later heard Giorgio, it was almost the same mindset. I'm going to share this with you because I think it's kind of neat.
We are now closer to the Aztecs, and the Aztecs went to a kind